Evening, Mayor, members of City Council. Still reeling from last week. I want to sort of confirm some things. I spent the last 5 days digging into statistics, economic statistics. It goes against what you guys talked about. I'm correct, and this whole thing is guided off of a 2% growth rate, correct? Your planning is based on a 2% growth rate over the next 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it may be.
Right.
Dug into the numbers. 1970, 2012, the average growth number of this county is 1.5%. That includes spikes that go up to 6, 5, and 6 in the late 70s and early 80s. There's nothing statistically that indicates we're going to grow at 2% for any period of time. We're under 1%. You got 3 spikes up here. Anytime we've spiked out of the standard deviation, it crashes. There's no data to support a 2% growth rate in the last decade other than 2000. It turns down at 2000 as soon as we finish building these houses. What disturbs me, I guess, is I can't be the only one to know this. I had to spend a week digging through it. You guys have to have advisors. Mr. Codgill, my representative, talked last week about order of operations. It's irrelevant, the order of operations, if your multiplier is off by 50%. Historically, not this year, since 1970. Your average rate of growth in this city and county is 1.5%. 7 years under 1%. To get to 2%, you would have to literally double the growth rate. There's no indicators out there for that, whether you look at the HUD report, the economic reports I've looked at, you look at the crop report of Stanislaus County 2012, $3.7 billion in ag dollars. Top 5 manufacturing plants in this community, I didn't think they would classify them that way. Gallo, Seneca, Stanislaus Food, Del Monte, Foster Farms. Our biggest manufacturing business manufacture food that these people grow. I think what it gets to, and the problem I'm seeing with my neighbors and people I'm talking to constantly, just met 9 more people across the street in a restaurant doing community work. Nobody agrees with this. You're morally off base from the get-go. The facts aren't adding up. There's a lack of trust. It's going to cost you at some point. And I can't believe that you don't know these numbers. So either you know them and ignore them, or you don't know them and you're not paying attention, which leaves us in a state of distrust. I'll finish up. I was hopefully courteous, respectful, had manners.
Thank you.
That's the way I was raised in Georgia. Ma'am, don't know you. I've yet to see you be courteous, respectful, and have manners to the people of this community. You don't represent me, so it's not my issue. But standing beside and watching that, my mother would spank me. Have a nice evening.
So just the 2% is a state number. The truth is at 1.5%, which I think is probably more likely. I am a math person. That's still 150,000 instead of 200. That's still a lot of people, and it would change the numbers a little bit, but it still puts massive impacts on our city.
Right, but to get over 1.5% is very rare. Again, the standard deviation that I calculated off of these numbers is 1 point. Let me get it right because I don't want to misquote myself because I like to check numbers. 1.5. But I mean, 1.49 includes, that number skewed in its own right.
Okay.
Looking back to 1970, you got a growth rate of 6.7% in 1973. That's going to throw that number higher than it really is.
Thank you.
1979, 5%. 1.5 is not factual either. It includes outliers, which shouldn't be counted.